Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Laurel Park. That intro gets me every time, and I think rightfully so because it's a big day of racing today. Thank you for joining us on the Fall Festival of Racing. We have 13 races on tap. I'm Acacia Courtney, thrilled to be here, filling in for Stan Salter, and also thrilled to be working this morning alongside my friend Tim Tullock. Tim, we got a great day ahead.
Oh, we have a great day. Always great to work with you. And this day's is turning into one of the biggest days we have in Maryland racing outside Preakness Day. The depth of races we have today and the depth of the stakes is just incredible. And this should be a really, really great day.
You can see the list of the stakes that we do have. As Tim said, the depth of the stakes, we have big fields, competitive, wide open races, lots of good wagering opportunities, of course highlighted by the Grade 3 Express Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial Dash. That does go as race number 10 of 13 today. A special post at 12:30, so don't be late because things start early, and as we said, it's just a ton of quality today. So we're all really looking forward to that. We will handicap the whole card, but before we get into that, wanted to tease a little bit of some of the storylines that are coming up a little bit later on in that DeFrancis Memorial Dash. A couple of very interesting horses. It's a wide open race, could be quite a bit of pace in there as well.
It's a wide open race. You've got a couple horses who absolutely love Laurel Park and Lackey and Lewis Field, and then you've got defending Maryland Sprint Handicap champion in Switzerland down toward the fence. So it's going to be fun.
And one of the maybe outliers or the sneaky horses, if you will, is a horse by the name of Colonel Sharp, who is trained by a local trainer in Hugh McMahon. Rich McLeary in town this weekend as well. He caught up with Hugh the other morning.
Is a pleasure. Is a gentleman. Is the dream horse. He loves training. He eats well. Is just minimum maintenance, and it gives you maximum effort.
Well, now here's a race that was pushed back a week because of the bad weather last week. I think it was a good call, all the rain that we had.
Yeah.
But did it interfere or interrupt his training? Did the extra week hurt you or help you, or didn't matter?
The extra week helped because it was coming off a nice win, and it was questionable whether it would like 2 turns at Timonium. Some horses like it, some horses hate it. And it was closing, and, I was just like, that race got to him a little bit. So the extra week helped us get the juice back in the tank.
And that was trainer Hugh McMahon talking about Colonel Sharp. And as Richie mentioned, the race pushed back a week due to weather. We have a beautiful day, knock on wood, so far right now.
Incredible day today, but Hugh McMahon is in a bit of the driver's seat. When you have a horse like that who's acts as he says he does and doesn't worry about things, it makes it easier as a trainer not to worry about it either. He's not worried, you're not worried. Some horses, you get them at the top of the game, it's hard to keep them there, and that extra week can hurt you.
Absolutely. So we'll be looking forward to see how Colonel Sharp does a little bit later on, but we have several other great turf stakes as well, and one of those being the All Along. And talking about a horse that's going to be breaking from the rail in Lift Up, who will be ridden by veteran journeyman Mario Pino, just a complete class act, well known here in Maryland. In fact, he won his first race in Maryland at Bowie. I had a chance to catch up with Mario.
She's a real nice filly. I've ridden her 3 times now, win 2. First 2 times I rode her was very impressive. Really nice little filly, well-bred filly. Augustin Stable owns her. Michael Dickinson trains her. And last time she just didn't really show up at Monmouth that day. And we're hoping to rebound tomorrow. I like her. She's a real little teeny little horse, but she got a lot of heart.
Got a lot of heart. Tim, how important is it to have that fire in a horse more than any sort of physical?
Absolutely. It's imperative. Desire is everything. There's a saying, it's not always the fastest horse in the race that wins the race. Sometimes it's the horse that thinks he can win the race that wins the race. So it's always very important.
All right, well, as Mario Pino says, she's a little bit of a thing, but she's got a lot of heart, so we'll look for Lift Up in the All Along a little bit later on. But let's dive into this card. As I mentioned, we have nice weather conditions so far. We do have plenty of wagering opportunities for you this afternoon as well. A couple of small carryovers in both the Super High 5 and that Rainbow 6. Again, 13 races on tap. The main track is listed as fast, and the turf is good this this afternoon. Again, first post will be 12:30 p.m. You can see a great shot of the turf. We were off the turf yesterday to give it a little bit more time to dry out. 70s and sunny so far, so looking forward to a great day ahead.
Absolutely. We got a little breeze going on. That helps, so we'll be fine.
All right, let's dive right in. Race number 1 is 5.5 furlongs on the turf. This is a $16,000 maiden claiming race. We'll go a little bit quickly through these first couple of races just so that we can spend enough time on all of the stakes that we do have. Of course, this kicks off our Super High 5. That is also the race that kicks off the early pick 5, industry low 12% takeout. It's a mandatory payout in this early pick 5, and that rolling Super High 5 is going to be any race with 7 or more betting interest. Now, Tim, in this first race, I ended up going more towards the outside, the number 10 Raitlin Orr for Mary Epler. This one just looks awfully tough in this opener.
Looks very tough in here, stretching out for the first time on turf, but it was life best second time on turf. Life best came in the last race on the turf, and this one I agree. This one looks very, very tough. Ran a lifetime best number while stretching on the turf first time. Last time gets Toledo back. Toledo rode her in the start before. Looks tough to beat here.
Does indeed. Now we have, as we continue to look through this card, we'll go quickly. As I said, we'll go on to race number 2 as we are in agreement in the first race. As we have another maiden race in race number 2, 5.5 furlongs on the main track for the 2-year-old fillies. This one I thought was a little bit wide open. It's a small but kind of potent field. You could go a couple of different ways, and I see we're a little bit all over the place. I guess Summer Smile to the rail is the starting point.
Yeah, I mean, I like this horse a little bit. Stepping back up off that Timonium race, but that was a nice race for her. But she has 2 previous starts here at Laurel at this level that weren't bad efforts, where she got beat 2 lengths and ran an okay number for this group. So she probably gained a little confidence out there at Timonium. After a bad start, she ran a positive race. She stumbled there out of that gate going a half mile. Hard to salvage a good finish, and she was actually did. I like the fact that JD Acosta returns.
And she did run a good race at this level at Laurel 2 starts back in August before going over to Timonium. And we've talked about this before, how the races at Timonium just a different surface, a different feel than what you're going to get here at Laurel.
Yeah, especially going a half mile at Timonium. It's a scramble on, you know. It's a you get out of the gate and you ride as hard as you can for a half a mile, and they run as fast as they can for a half mile, and you're simply fast enough or you're not, period.
So especially coming a little bit of a slow start out of the gate, you can certainly understand how she might be hindered there. I took a stab with the 2 Rosori, who she was very, very green in her first race. Again, at Timonium, going that half mile, going to be a little bit tough. She gets the blinkers on for her second start, and she does take that drop in class at the 25,000. Again, I thought even still it was a pretty wide open field that she's facing in here today, but I'm hoping the blinkers and now some experience will help her.
I agree, and that's a really, really hard place to make your first start. You know, it's like I said, it's a scramble on. You go down the far turn, you're looking at the Ferris wheel. Everything happens really, really fast, especially going half mile. So she's eligible to move forward, and with the blinkers on for John Salzman Jr., should be able to run a little bit better today.
And John Salzman's represented by 2, including the 4 Katarina 1, who has some speed as well.
Yeah, it gets back to a fast track, decent race, 2 back. I actually liked her start the time before. Her first start here, where she actually stumbled out of the gate, because I liked her a little bit better where she came off the pace a little bit. She was passing horses in the lane. I'd rather see a horse pass horses in the lane than get past in the lane. So I like the start where she didn't actually run as a good a number.
Well, especially when you do see a 2-year-old that can go by horses. That's something encouraging for sure. So good little second race there as we move on to race number 3. This one's 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and upward. And this does start our early pick 4. I took a stab at the sequence. Tim and I were talking about this in the office, and I mentioned this earlier. Just some very tough races to go through today because they're so competitive. Again, hats off to the racing office for putting together such a good card in here. I'm just using 2 horses in the first leg, though I really would love to use more, but trying to keep it a little bit affordable with a $27 play. I'm going to use the 2 Jareth, who I think is probably the horse to beat for Kelly Rubley. I like this one quite a bit in here, and his running style. I'm also going to use the speed of the 4 Smile for Eternity. So I've got a bit of a closer and a speed horse in the first leg. Race number 4 is our first stake on the day. This is the Laurel Futurity, and I'm using 3 horses. I absolutely love the 12 Market Bubble in here today. I really like this horse. But again, these are 2-year-olds. Some of them have only raced once before. like Market Bubble, so we don't really know what we're going to get. I'm also going to use the 13 Absolved as well as the 5 Veterans Beach, so we'll see what we get in that first stake on the day. Going 3 deep in race number 5, that's a maiden claiming event. I've got 3 horses there, and then we continue on with the stakes action in the 6th. That's the All Along. We heard from Mario Pino talking about Lift Up. If I could include her in here, I would love to, but again, I just really did like a couple other horses. You've got Esquisse getting blinkers on for trainer Grant Motion, which I think should be a very strong move. Stormy Victoria is a must-use, even though she's one of those late-running horses, and the 6th Valedictorian is my long shot on the day, so I'm going to include her as well. So $27 play for me.
It's a nice play. It's tough. Some of these races, there's a few horses. And same thing I do the late pick for. A few horses you want to use, and you're just running out of money, so you've got to pick and choose. But they're going to be great sequences in all of our wagers today. So.
Absolutely. So this third race does kick off that pick 4, and we're on the same horse, the 2 Jareth, at the outside post last time for Kelly Rubley.
Yeah, and this horse has been in really good form since the end of June, running some strong races, and 3 back here at Laurel. This one ran behind Clever Triad. Clever Triad is in really top form right now and running very well for Ann Merriman. So I think this is the right move here. Edwin Gonzalez rides for Kelly Rubley, and she hits 21% in her allowance races. So there's a lot to respect here.
Absolutely, and you've got the 4 Smile for Eternity, who has some speed. You also have the 9 Oldies but Goodies, who's going to show some speed too. I preferred of the speed horses. I thought Smile for Eternity coming out of stakes competition.
Yeah, I like Smile for Eternity. Ever since she got put back on the turf, this horse has turned into a different filly, and she's run 4 consecutive really nice races. And that last race wasn't a bad race behind Sunny Inspired, Grande Flora, and English Minister.
Those are tough horses.
Those are tough horses, absolutely. And she gets beat 2.5 lengths for the whole thing. This actually, in some respects, might be a little bit of drop in class. Certainly, I don't think it's a remarkable raise in class, but I like Smile for Eternity, and Xavier Perez returns, and if she's got some gas, he'll have her on it.
Absolutely. And what do you do with the likes of the 3 Polar Jet? And you have to imagine the connections, big reason for 5-2 on the morning line. Switching to the turf, actually never been on the turf before. Linda Rice and Horacio Caramanos. This horse has been pretty good on the dirt, but I just didn't really know what to do with him.
Well, by McLean's Music, who's by Distorted Humor, out of a forestry mare, this one should be able to turf. And the fact of life is, if this one converts any of his dirt races, they're running for second. End of story, because his numbers are just standouts in the whole field, but he's going to be able to convert them. We've seen it happen before. Could happen again. It's Linda Rice. It's Horacio Caramanos. They only hit at a lukewarm 38%.
Very average indeed. I always have to keep an eye out for Linda Rice here. Yeah. Well, let's turn the page. Our first stakes race of the day. It comes in the 4th, 6 furlongs on the turf. It's the Laurel Futurity for the 2-year-olds, and pretty fun race here. And I mentioned Market Bubble. I see that you like this horse as well. I'm really become a big fan of this Svedvis colt.
Yeah, typically I don't like horses that just broke their maiden going into stakes, but this was a really nice race. Going 3/4 of a mile, she gets to run today. He gets to run today. And it was a big effort, firing a big number in a 68 for a 2-year-old first time out. That's a nice race. Couple good work since. So there's a lot going on here to like, and I like Market Bubble too.
Well, we'll show you that maiden win from Belmont for Market Bubble. This was on June 30th, so a little bit of a freshening for trainer Alan Goldberg as we pick it up from the quarter pole. It's the number 2 there, and I thought he broke well and then settled back. So I like to see a horse that's first time out coming from off the pace. We talked about this before, having that willingness to pass horses. There he is on the outside in the blue cap, and what I saw from him in this race, I haven't seen him in the flesh. He looks like he has a lot of good size to him and is going to be able, if he can handle that 6 furlongs on the turf at Belmont, he should be able to handle this 6 furlong turf stretch here, no problem at Laurel. In general, I found that the Fesbit offsprings are a little bit on the small side. He doesn't look to have that, so I'm excited to see how he's going to progress.
Well, he certainly appears like he has plenty of step through the lane, and what I like, and you commented about, is he ran a professional race. I mean, he ran like he had run a few times before, clearly settled, passed horses on the outside, ran straight, so that's always nice to see. Alan Goldberg's always tough with these types, 23% overall with his 2-year-old, so you can count on him.
Well, another one that won first time out and is now stepping right into stakes competition is the 5 Veterans Beach, who was also impressive, winning first time out at Saratoga in special weight company. Always a tough ask, especially for a 2-year-old, but Dave Donk had this one ready to go at a big price first time out.
Yeah, big price first time. And this is another one who ran a very tactful race.
Yes.
When you look at his running line, he got away, put himself in good position, and got the job done, quite like Market Bubble did. Now, that wasn't a state-bred main special weight race, but still fired a nice number, 66. I think that's good enough. I like this one, too. Has had 3 nice works since that last race. I think there's plenty to like there, and that one is in both are exacted.
Yes, and it's interesting looking at this race, and you kind of lean a little bit more towards the outside of the 12. You have the 13. I think Absolved might be a little bit of the sneaky one in here, trying the turf for the first time. Plenty of turf pedigree on the bottom side, and as you said, I mean, talking about batting at a good percentage, Claudio Gonzalez, it's just incredible to watch.
Well, Claudio's got 2 sneaky good ones on the turf today. This is the first one. The next one is Helen later on.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. By Blame out of St. Jovite Mare, this colt should be able to handle the turf without a problem. Claudio has struggled with his turf horses over the past 2 years, but he's slowly starting to warm up. Now, last year he struggled with his 2-year-olds. This year, not a problem. He's hitting at 23%, 24% this year with his 2-year-olds. But this horse should move up on the turf and move forward here.
In fact, 4 turf-winning siblings as well. And just quickly to wrap up, Tim, you talked about normally you steer away from a horse that just broke his maiden stepping up. What kind of workout pattern or what kind of layoff pattern would you like to see from a horse like Market Bubble or the 5 Veterans Beach in here?
Well, I like that both have had plenty of time and a few works in between. That first start always takes the most out of a young horse first time they run. It's really important that they have enough time, bounce back from it, get a couple works in. But if you try to run them right back, oftentimes it doesn't work.
All right, well, we'll see if they're coming in nice and fit. Looks like they might be. That's our first stake of the day. Looking forward to the futurity as we go back into the maiden ranks. This is race number 5, 6 furlongs on the main track, 3-year-olds and upward, $25,000 maiden claiming event. And once again, we're in agreement. The 3 tops are, we saw a nice winner in Rugby Man from Grand Motion here yesterday, getting back to the winner's circle. I think the tops are on the class drop. Tough break last time out, second time blinkers. Just looks like everything's coming together for this one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the last time this horse was sprinting on the main track here at Laurel, he ran a lifetime best number, running 3rd in the maiden special weight. So I think this horse is going to appreciate sprinting back on the dirt here at a little bit less company on the drop, 25,000. That's a significant drop from the Saratoga drop and even the maiden 75. And the maiden 40.
Well, a little bit of a homecoming, if you will, for Topstar, who did debut at Laurel here. You also have another class dropper in the 4 Relentless Lion, who could be interesting as well. We go back into stakes company in race number 6. That's a 1.16 miles on the turf. It's the all along for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And this is a race that it's loaded with quality. It really is. I was very excited about this race, and this is where my price play does come. The horse that's the class, though, clearly does seem to be Stormy Victoria.
Absolutely. Looks like the class of the field coming out of some nice races numbers-wise. But really, on her current form, she hasn't won when she's been favored.
Yeah.
She has not been able to get the job done when she's been favored, but clearly she's running good numbers. She's just not getting the results you'd like to see. She might have found a spot that she can get the result and the good number in combination with each other. But it looks like she's tough and the one to beat, no question about it.
And she's such a tricky horse because I've seen her several times racing, and she's so talented, but she is one of those that likes to just make that late run from the back of the pack. She always seems to find trouble. If there's some kind of trouble in the race, Stormy Victoria will find it because she's just going to be flying from the back of the pack.
Yeah, and that's the downside to horses like her. I mean, she's always overcoming something, which ends up in just okay results and decent numbers, and you just see it right there on her form. So she's going to have to get the right trip to get the job done.
Yeah, she certainly will. We'll see what she gets today. There's not a huge abundance of speed signed on in this race, which is what makes me nervous about her. I think her class really makes her stand out quite a bit. So my goofy price play of the day is going to be the 6 valedictorian, who certainly number-wise and the level of what she's been running, she has to step up to be competitive against this bunch. She's got some a tough ask in here. But I think the turf is her preferred surface, and Kelly Breen's got her sharp right now since she came off that layoff. She's going to be tactical. She's going to be closer to the pace as well.
I think so, and I think on a good course, when we found here, when the course is good, you cannot be too far off of it. You've got to be close, because a lot of times in the stretch, everybody's running the same speed, so you've got to be close to the lead if you want to get to the wire first. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, she's in good form. Now, numbers-wise, she looks like she's going to have to be run faster, even on her best races. They just don't quite seem fast enough. But she's got some races that are close. Could get it done. All
right, we'll see if we can get a bit of a price there. Let's talk about the 2 Esquisse for Graham Motion. She was beaten just a neck last time out, and the short comment is hung, and that is kind of true of what she did. It's almost like she got to the lead and she kind of waits on horses a bit, and I spoke to Trevor McCarthy, who will be riding her and rode her before, and he thought the blinkers might help her just keep a little bit more focus in the stretch.
I think this might be the move of the day, and I like Esquisse. She's in my exacta. She's in your exacta, but she has a history that you go back and look at her European races, lead-headed and second best, lead-headed second best, and I think the blinkers are a great move. It will keep her focused. It will keep her going forward. And I like Esquisse. She's 8-1 on the morning line. We might get a pretty nice price.
Might get a price on her. She just might be the one that could be the one flying beneath the radar there. But a really nice rendition of the All Along in race number 6, and we continue with the stakes action as we go to race number 7. That is also 6 furlongs on the turf. It's the Laurel Dash for 3-year-olds and upward, and you've got a horse that, I mean, just so aptly named. Let's start with the 3 Class in Cash, and we're going to show his last race from August 29th at Delaware. He was the number 6 that day. Tempt Me Twice, who's a horse that's just been in very good form lately, did end up catching him, came up all alongside, and they just dueled down to the wire. Class in Cash, easy to spot in the white blinkers, the gray horse. But Tim, he has shown before that he likes this 6 furlong stretch here at Laurel.
Oh, he likes the 6 furlong stretch here at Laurel. He's got a nice race where he ran a 91 speed figure, but I love the turn back. Always love the turn back from the mile to the 3/4 here. He's going to be able to lay pretty close. He lays close going long. You're going to need to lay close on this course today. I don't think we'll see very many coming from very far out of it. On what I think the course how the course will play. So I think this is a very interesting. I like Class in Class, and Fergal Lynch and Jane Sibeli. They hook up.
Always dangerous,
always
indeed.
dangerous.
Now, you do pick against him. You go with the 7 Toombalane, who's pretty tactical as well for Robertino Diodoro.
Yeah, this horse, my concern about this horse is he's got really, really good form this year, except for the 2 times he had to run on a soft course.
Right.
Now, this course isn't going to be soft, but it's certainly not going to be firm.
Right.
It's going to have a little cut in the ground. He's had 3 works since, but that's my concern. But I'm going to stick with him. Victor Carrasco, he looks like it could be the best horse in the race. He's coming out of a grade 3 where he didn't run bad on the soft course, and he's got some other races there. But hey, look, the give in the ground is a little bit concern for me with my top pick.
And there will be some give in the ground today. That was a very, very soft course at during the Troy at Saratoga though that week, and they got a lot of rain up there.
Well, they got a lot of rain up there, and when that course gets soft, it's a bog.
That's
it's
sure.
not just soft.
For sure.
It's a
Well, we'll see how Toombalane handles that today. We're going to take a quick break while we discuss turf conditions here at Laurel Park. But one thing is for sure, when we come back, we'll tackle that 20-cent Rainbow Six and a whole lot more.
Hey everybody, super excited to tell you about a brand new national Pick 5 wager that kicks off on Friday, September 28th. It's the Stronach 5 and it features an industry low takeout of 12%. You want action? The Stronach 5 is all about action. We're talking 5 races in less than an hour. Laurel, Golden Gate Fields, Gulfstream Park, and Santa Anita. That's the Stronach 5, a 12% takeout, $1 minimum, and it sets sail Friday, September 28th.
Well, really looking forward to that Stronach 5 starting next week. It should be so fun to be part of. We get a nice glimpse of the Laurel Turf Course, Maryland Million Day coming up next month, and all sorts of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. We just keep piling it on. We got a big day today, big day tomorrow, the Stronach 5, the Maryland Million coming up, and it's just a fun fall here at the festival.
It is, and what's even more fun is the 20-cent Rainbow Six. It starts right here in race number 8. Of course, the goal is to try and be the only winner for that jackpot pool, but even if you are not the single ticket, you can still get some really nice payouts. It's just a 20-cent minimum, which lets you bet a little bit more, use a few more horses, which I certainly did when I took a stab in this ticket. We've talked about these competitive races. I went a little bit more expensive than I normally do, $51.20 today, because I wanted to spread in a couple of races, one of them being right here in race number 8. Now, I love these kind of marathon turf races, 1.5 miles on the turf. I don't know, there's something about them. I love these races. I think they're a lot of fun, and you've got a big field in here to tackle, a field of 11, one of them being a main trek only, I believe. And I'm going to use 4 horses in there. I like Renown. I think that Hello Don Julio could be the main speed in here. We'll see if he can sustain it for that whole distance. As we move on to race number 9, that's the Sensible Lady. I'm going to use the number 10 Smiling Causeway back in against the fillies and mares. I think she's going to be very tough today. I'm also going to use the 7 Compelled, whose last couple of races have not been as strong as I'd like to see, but I do still think that she has a lot of backclass to deal with. In race 10, I'm going to spread as well. That's the DeFrancis Dash. We talked about this. Switzerland looks like he's the tough one, winning the Maryland Sprint, but he's going to have a lot to deal with today. This has turned out to be a very, very salty race, so I'm using 4 horses, going to go just 2, which makes me a little bit nervous. In the Salima, which is the 2-year-old filly race, I'm using Elsa and Surge of Pride, and then just 2 deep in the last 2 races. Hopefully we get there. I'll be holding my breath with those last 2, $51.20.
You went 4 deep in the Francis Dash also in my late pick 4. I think you're absolutely right. That race is salty, it's deep, and it's competitive.
Yes, it is indeed. But let's tackle this first race here, the Laurel Turf Club. This one turned out to another really strong race, and a horse that I was very intrigued by is the number 9 Renown, who last time out ran a very good race. Did end up having a little bit of trouble there. That was at Saratoga, going 1 mile and 5/8 in the John's Call. And as we look to that race in Saratoga, again, had some trouble. Was the number 7 that day, came between horses. I thought this was such a game move from the number 7 Red Cap. As we start from the quarter pole here, it looks like there is no space, and as you watch in between, the Red Cap just finds that little seam and comes in between. Unfortunately, you did have some very tough horses closing outside. That's where the DQ did happen between the 10 and the 4, so Renown did not have anything to do with that, but I thought it was a big performance from this horse, who's a 6-time winner at this distance.
Yeah, a 6-time winner at the distance, and ran a big number that day in a 98. That was a big race. This would be second off the layoff, and this horse ran 3rd in the, last year's edition of this race, and ran a nice number in 87. So it's had a nice work since that race. Has some nice races over a course rated as good. I think there's a few things going in Renown's favor for Elizabeth Voss and Trevor McCarthy.
And we'll show you a stat on trainer Elizabeth Voss. This was horses on the turf in the money last time out in non-graded stakes. Very good percentages and a very low ROI. And looking, all of these horses did seem to be on the shorter price. So what I would say is probably the case with Renown. If you get a little bit of a price, that might be a good bet. If it's a short price, maybe find a couple other options, or maybe a different way to play in your exotics.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like this horse a little bit more now. I mean, he won over the Sycamore a couple years ago over a course rated good, going 1.5 miles at Keeneland, and ran a 95 speed figure that day. So he'll dig the footing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing that we know about numbers is it's not going to be a problem for the 4 Hello Don Julio, who's had four races in a row with 100 buyer speed figure.
Absolutely, and this could play right into his hands. He has speed. He'll probably be able to control the pace right from the beginning, but that's not something you see very often. This horse has run 4 consecutive triple-digit buyers. And the other thing about him is he's coming off a little bit of a layoff, but he's run well off these layoffs before, going a route of ground off the layoff. So this isn't new to him. I think he'll be able to do it. He's certainly my top pick.
Yeah, he's going to be tough indeed. I did end up going with Renown, but I would not leave this horse by any stretch of the imagination off my ticket. So nice rendition of the Laurel Turf Cup there as we go on to race number 9. 6 furlongs on the turf, the Sensible Lady Turf Dash. This one for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And this is a horse in Smiling Causeway who she's going to be, I think, probably a very short price in here. I do like her quite a bit. She faced the boys in the Turf Monster last time. And just here's a food for thought stat, if you will, on trainer Arnaud Delacour on the turf in non-graded stakes at Laurel. Surprise, surprise, he does exceptionally well with 35% win and 75% of the time in the money.
Yeah, he's very, very good here. When he comes to win. All his stats and numbers are off the charts in every category. But I like Smiling Causeway. I'm going to try to beat her today, but she's in very good form. She's the only mare in the race that has run a triple-digit number in that 101 that she ran in the Turf Amazon at Parks, and getting the job done that day by 3 lengths. So she's going to be very, very tough. Has a nice work sense. She is simply the horse to beat. And with that said, I'm going to try to beat her with my price play of the day, and that's to the outside, the 11 Rocky Policy. Now, Rocky Policy is interesting. She got her very first turf win in her last start, but this mare can run. She ran a big race that last time. She ran an 87 speed figure. If you work back to this spring, she ran a 90 out at Penn National, getting beat a length, and she's in really, really good form. Look at the 2 works leading up to this race. A nice 5/8 of a mile on September 1st, but how about that 5/8 on September 14th? 59-1 over a good track here. Being around Dale Capuano a lot like I have, when you see him put the screws to a horse like that, 59 and change, he means business. He's the guy who works his horses 101, 102. When he's looking to do something big, you'll see that. I like Rocky Policy with Centino today. Interesting, Centino's riding Rocky Policy, and he's ridden the Smiling Causeway in the last few starts.
Yes.
So interesting there. You never know how the dynamics of how all that happened, but I can speculate.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, hey, some great points there, and Dale Capuano's just done a great job all throughout. Had some nice horses even running yesterday, and then you bring up some great points about the workout pattern. Always good to have a little bit of insight like that. What do we do with the number 7, Compelled? I mean, her last couple of races, I admit they've been a little bit head-scratching. They've been good, but I don't feel like they're as good as you've come to expect from a filly like this.
Well, they've been good races out of California. 2-back was a nice race and a nice number. My concern about Compel is Laurel Park really hasn't been very good to her.
Right.
She's run here twice. Now, she did break her maiden here, but she only ran a 65, and 3 starts back in the Dahlia. She got beat pretty good. She ran 4. She only got beat 3 lengths, but she only ran a 79. Those numbers at Laurel aren't going to be good enough for today. And she can run back to her races at Santa Anita and some other spots, maybe. But if she runs back to her current Laurel races, not going to be good enough.
All right, well, she does have Gary Stevens in the saddle. He'll be in town riding for the day, so welcome to Gary. We'll see what we get from her, both Tim and I, towards the outside with our picks as we head to the marquee race of the day. That is race number 10. It's going to be the Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial Dash, a Grade 3 event rescheduled from last week. Turned out to be a very salty field and a very wide open race. In fact, could potentially be quite a bit of pace. This does also start our late pick 4, and Tim is going to give us all the answers.
Oh, absolutely. Like you, I went 4 deep in this race. You just have to. It's that salty, using the 1 Switzerland, the 4 Lacaille, the 5 Always Sunshine, and the 8 Lewisfield, who absolutely loves Laurel Park and gets back to his preferred distance in 3/4 of a mile. 4 deep in the 11th, the Salima, using the 3 Sergipide, the 6 Elsa, the 9 Helen, first-time turf for Claudio Gonzalez by Giopani out of Arahi Mare. I think that works. And the 10 Monkey's Uncle for Arnaud Delacour. You just can't leave him off the ticket. 2 deep in the 12th, using the 2 and the 4, and 2 deep in the 13th using the 3 and the 5. $32 ticket. We have some spending money yesterday because
Yes.
my $12 pick 4 hit for 55. So
Excellent.
we're going to reinvest today.
That's right. Put it right back in and make even more today. I like it. And as we said, lots of good wagering opportunities today. And we'll start with the horse to the rail that we both picked. We've been talking about him quite a bit. Switzerland won the Grade 3 Maryland Sprint. We're going to show that race at Pimlico. It was a wet track that day. If anybody was watching the Preakness, as I'm sure you all were, you can remember just how foggy and wet it was. And there he is, Switzerland. And in fact, in this race, another horse that's going to be running against him today is Louisfield, who did try to go with him in the early stages of the race. Switzerland has the rail today. What do you expect him to have to do with that natural speed that he has?
I think he has to use it.
Yeah.
I just think there's no choice. I think he's got it. His last race at Saratoga, that was just insanely fast. You'd have to be a super horse to keep going after 21 and 3,
which
44
Imperial
and
Hint
change.
does seem to be.
Which Imperial Hint does seem to be. And he's just a cut below. But I think he gets a little class relief here. He gets one of our leading riders in Fergal Lynch. Very, very good rider. But, you know, you've got the fence. You've got a horse with speed. You're almost obligated to, but I think he's fast enough, and he'll pick up the win today.
And he really was hustled to the start in the Vanderbilt last time, and Imperial Hint kind of sat off of it a little bit. It was a smart move by Javier Castellano that day when it looked like there was going to be a lot of speed. That was not the case for Switzerland, and they went very, very quick. We'll see how it does play out in here today. Now, speaking of speed, we have a horse, so I alluded to him already, in Louisfield. He's going to rematch with Lakai. Now, you've gotten to know both of these horses quite well. Seeing them here locally. We're going to show that race in last time out, August 12th, here at Laurel. Louisfield was the eventual winner. He was disqualified, he was disqualified, and Lakai was placed first through disqualification. A little bit of drifting there in the stretch, but these two put on a show.
Oh, they put on a great show, and it was a great race. And, you know, these things happen, and you know, judgment calls are made. That's the way it goes. But these two ran a great race. They're both really game horses. They both absolutely adore Laurel Park. They think this is the greatest place on earth. I think they have like 10 wins here between them. But that was a really, really good race. Now, I do think Louisfield benefits for turning back to 3/4 of a mile. That was 7/8 last time. I think that will help Louisfield today. He's very, very good here. He likes 3/4 of a mile. He's 4 for 7 with 2 seconds. He's 4 for 6 here at Laurel Park. He could, and it's interesting because he gets the outside. He could do the Imperial Hint thing on Switzerland, and Arnoldo Borgachica and Jeff Runco. They're just catatonic. They hit at 30% all the time with 531 starters. That's hard to do. But Louisfield's very, very tough, and he's honest. He's going to show up. He's going to run his race. Will it be good enough? We'll find out. But he does have the advantage in the draw.
He's such a cool little horse, and I thought the same thing. The fact that he was outside was what made me kind of elevate him a little bit and use him in third. And then you used him in the exacta. I'm thinking if there is going to be a lot of speed in here, you talk about an honest horse. I'm going to use the number 2 Sweet on the ladies in my exacta. Maybe I'm a little bit biased getting to follow him throughout his races in Florida, but he's just been very consistent for trainer Henry Colazzo, who was in town here at Laurel Park. He was planning on running him last week. They turned right back around to Florida and scheduled another ship up here to Laurel Park to run him in this race. And I know it's been a long time since he's in the winner's circle, but he's been right there against top horses like XY Jet and running in graded stakes company. So he's got Gary Stevens. If there's any sort of pace scenario in here, I thought he could be one running late.
It certainly could work out for him. When I look at his races, it's been a while since he's seen the winner's circle for sure. And he just doesn't seem, he's fast. He just doesn't seem fast enough against a couple of these others. So I stayed away from him. I didn't use him. I'm glad he's here. If he wins it, I'd be more than happy for him to take the money back to Florida. But I think he might be on the outside looking in.
All right, we'll see if he can close and grab a share in here and maybe step up in company a bit. But definitely a salty field in this year's De Francis Dash. Really looking forward to how this one plays out. But we've got another stake after this to bring you. Race 11 is 6 furlongs on the turf. It's for the 2-year-old fillies, the Salima. Perhaps the horse in the starting point here is going to be the number 6, Elsa. Before we dive into her, we'll show you just a quick stat on trainer Michael Stidham. In the past 5 years with 2-year-olds sprinting on the turf, he has very good numbers, 23% win, 53% of the time in the money. This is a filly that she won first time out, and she has already been exposed against stakes competition.
Yeah, she has been exposed, but I'm not going to hold that against her.
Right.
You know, you're taking on winners in a stake for the first time in your career.
Race, yeah.
I thought it was a really, really good race, good effort. She comes back in here with a few works since that race. She gets a good outside draw. She's won over the course. I think she's going to appreciate the 3/4 of a mile as opposed to the 5.5. And Sheldon Russell returns. I think there's plenty to like. And Michael Stidham is just, as you were talking about those other stats, he is very, very strong in all these categories, the layoff categories, turf sprints, all of that. So I think that Elsa is the one to beat.
Now tell me about Helen. I know this is one you've been interested in. The other Claudia Gonzalez, sneaky first-time turfer.
Sneaky first-time turfer by Giopani out of Rahi Mare. You can't get too much more turf than that. And this one's been running really well. She's not run a bad race. She simply hasn't. Look at her form. She got beat a nose first time out. She beats Bye Bye Birdie, who comes back and wins. Now, this is all on the dirt. Comes back and wins. Now, Bye Bye Birdie, when Bye Bye Birdie broke her maiden, she looked like the real deal. So I think she beat a nice horse there in Bye Bye Birdie. But I'm just excited to see her get on the grass. She's been working well here. Claudio's been slowly warming up, getting horses on the turf. First turf, he's up to 14%, which is a low number for Claudio Gonzalez. However, it's getting better and better and better, and I think Helen's poise could shake up the whole apple cart here today.
All right, well, we'll see if we can get a little bit of a price there, and then we both include the $300,000 daughter of Uncle Mo and the 10 monkeys uncle for Arnaud Delacour. Can't leave them off.
You can't leave an Uncle Mo off because they'll run over
anything.
Grass, glass, it doesn't matter. They just run. They know how to run. They love doing it, and you never leave Arnaud Delacour out.
All right, well, we've got ever, especially on the turf. We've got a couple more races to get through quickly. Let's go to race number 12, 6 furlongs maiden claiming for the 2-year-olds. This is where Tim and I are going to be holding our breath as we get through the final legs of our Rainbow 6 and Pick 4 tickets. I thought, Tim, this race was screaming for a first-time starter. So I don't love the fact that a 2-year-old that cost $70,000 is debuting for Rudy Rodriguez for $25,000. I don't love that, but I do think that this one just finds the right spot to debut with horses that have had a few chances already.
Well, he certainly finds the right spot. He's absolutely well entered. His
Right.
works indicate that
This
I
is
don't
where
care
he
how
should
much you
be.
paid for
Yeah.
him. This is where he belongs. His works have not been overly impressive. They're not terrible, but they're not maiden special weight type works, 102s, 50s, and that type of work. So I agree with you. It's a good spot. I have a couple others I like. I use this horse, but Rudy Rodriguez only hits a 13% when he debuts a horse in maiden claiming race, so it's not one of his high points.
There's some interesting stats there. Tell me about the 4 Sunman. You're certainly hoping Claudio has a big day today.
Well, look at the race Sunman ran at Timonium. Poor start. He was getting outrun 16 lengths going a half a mile. He makes up half of that, only gets beat 7 lengths for the whole thing. And I think that's going to make all the difference. Gets away well here, stretches out to 3/4 of a mile, has a work sense, has Claudio Gonzalez, who's very, very good with his maiden claiming horses. He hits a 29%. Ashley Castrenzi and Claudio have been hooking up lately with some winners. I think Sunman could be very tough here. 8-1 on the morning line. Won't be that at post time.
Probably will. I think any horse of Claudio's will get a little bit of attention come post time. And then you've got a couple of horses, as I said, that have just had chances before in the likes of the 6 Coolman Cletus and the 2-3 phase. Been right there, but just haven't been able to get the job done.
Yeah, Coolman Cletus, the 6 furlong is going to be a real test because he's been getting late going a half mile and 5/8 of a mile. I use him on my ticket. He's going to get late. He'll probably hit the board. I don't see him in the winner's circle.
All right, we'll have one more race to go. This is a marathon day here for the Fall Festival of Racing, but lots of fun indeed. We wrap things up with the 16,000 non-winners of 2 event. We'll start with Tim's top pick, the 3 Lonely Drifter, who probably is the horse to beat because more and more I looked at this race, Tim, I thought this filly, she's going to be part of the pace.
Yeah, she's going to be part of the pace. She's been running strong numbers for this level. First time with Jerry Robb. Mario Pino rides. They hit at 21%. But when I looked at this race, she's got some speed. She really hasn't run a bad race in her career. I mean, you look at all her races, and she's hit the board every time except for one start. And that day she only got beat 4 lengths. So I think she's the best horse in the race. I used her along with the 5G4 in my pick 4.
And I love to see Mario Pino getting in the saddle on that one too. And I use the 6 Ridgemont High. I'm hoping the drop in class helps her. I know that she's got some dirtied up form, but that's what I'm hoping will make her a bit of a price. She's 15-1 on the morning line. I saw that and I said, well, yay, hopefully we get something like that to close out the day. So I'd like to wrap it up with a price.
Yeah, wrap it up with a little fast times at Ridgemont High.
Hey,
there
why
you
not?
Go. There you go.
I like it.
Spicoli.
I like it. I like it. Well, we made it through those 13 races, but we've got a lot more to bring you this afternoon. You can catch me and Tim alongside Richard Migliori this afternoon. We're thrilled to have you here with us for the Fall Festival racing at Laurel Park. Good luck today, and thanks for joining us.